Hey, this is WhyBeAre with My Summer Car. Now, I have played this game a little bit, but we're going to be starting a new game for this video. So right here, we got to choose our name. We got a last name and a first name. I am so uncreative, though. I'm just going to do WhyBeAre. Now, the rest of these you can't click except for permanent death, which you could turn off, but by default, it's on. And I never died when I was playing this game earlier, so we're going to leave it as on. We start off in a house, and we're going to explore this house and turn on every single light switch I see because I pay nothing for electricity. And I realize something: if we come into the house when it's dark, it's really hard to find the light switches. So right now we're in the kitchen and my sausages are out on the table. We're going to go ahead and put those in the refrigerator. Do we need to do this? No. Do we gain anything at all from doing this? No. Is it fun? Yes. So that's why we do it. And then we have a little room right here. I think it's supposed to be a pantry, but it looks like there's grass on the floor, right? I don't think that's actually grass. It just really looks like grass when you look at it, because if you compare this to what is actually grass, you'll notice it's a different texture and a different color. So I have to assume it's just really strange green carpeting. So what do we have in here? Not what you would expect. It's a shower. It is also the biggest shower I've ever seen, at least in person. I've seen bigger showers on TV and movies and stuff, but in real life, I ain't never seen a shower this big. I also ain't never seen one of these. It's a sauna. So you can, grab your little dipper, get some water from the bucket, and then you can pretend to put it on the rocks. Unfortunately, that doesn't actually happen. It looks like the water's in there, but it won't stay, so you can't put it on the rocks, so you can't get the steam. So you don't forget this. We're leaving the door open, so that way if there's ever steam, it'll steam up the whole house, we'll get mold, and the house will have to be abandoned because of too much mold. And I missed the light switch. Got it now, though. So we got a couple more rooms we're going to explore. This one, I believe, is my guy's bedroom, because if he gets tired, he can sleep on his terribly made bed. And there's also a catalog right here to buy car parts. Now, my car is not yet in a condition good enough to buy parts for it. Soon it will be, but not yet. Next to his room, we have a bathroom. And what happens if you use the toilet? Well, that's actually how you save and quit to the menu. That's also the only way I found to save and quit aside from using console commands. And this one, the light's already on. I don't even need to do anything. I just walk right through it. Over here, we have another bedroom, and I tried to sleep in this bed, and it didn't seem like the game would let me, so I assume it's not my bed, so I went ahead and stomped all over the bed like I'm doing right now, and then stomped on out to my bed. This is like the master bed, though, because it's got a big old closet and a big old bedroom. And then the main room, we have something a little neat. It's one of those 8x8 trucks, like the ones you see in Spin Tires, made out of blocks. It's adorable. And I want one of those in real life out of blocks because of how awesome that looks. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at my car, because I know you're all dying to see my beautiful car I have in this game. I mean, it can be beautiful. It's just missing a few parts. Well, it's missing every single part you can imagine but the pedals and the glass and the fuzzy dice. That's really all it has. So we have to fix that. The first thing we're going to need to do is build an engine. This isn't the kind of game where you just say, I want an engine, and you put it in the car. No, you actually got to build the engine. So we have all of these parts over here, and most of these parts combined up make an engine. Not all of them, but most of them. So we're going to start off with the engine block. And just by looking at it, you can tell it's half of a V8 engine, because I took a V8 engine, cut it in half, and that's how inline fours were born. Actually, that's not true. There are technical differences between a cut-in-half V8 and an inline-4. Anyways, that's the block. The first part we're going to put in the block is going to be the crankshaft. Now, the crankshaft is just going to sit in the block right now, so it's not actually attached in there. We need to attach it with a real part. So we're going to use the main bearings. Now, usually when you get a part lined up and it can be installed, you'll see a little check mark on it like that. That's how you know click, and the part will install. Sometimes, though, you can install parts when it says X, and sometimes the checkmark won't show up, and you just got to believe you have it in the right position. So when you install that, you notice there's some bolts that are sticking out a lot. Got to do something about that. That part is not secured. So how do you secure the bolts? Well, you use the tool box, or the Kalut tools. To open the box, first you find the little hand, and then hit F. And then to go into tool mode, you have to hit 2. When you're in tool mode, you can actually pick up the tools. If you're not in tool mode, every time you try to pick up a tool, you just end up picking up the whole box, wondering what's going on here. So when you're in tool mode, you pick out a spanner, as the game likes to call it, and then you try to tighten the bolt. Problem is, you don't know what size to use, and when you hover over it like this, there's nothing that says you need a bigger or smaller one like you would have in real life, so you kind of just got to memorize this stuff and know which size works where. So like, I know a spanner number 9 works here well, and I'm assuming the 9 is just 9 millimeters because that seems like a reasonable size for something like this. Maybe a tiny bit small, but reasonable. Anyways, the next part we're going to be adding is the piston. Now, the piston goes into the piston hole, which sounds funny to say, the piston hole. I mean, I guess technically it's just going inside of the block. I don't think there's really a name for the hole the piston sits in inside of the block. You would just say the piston's in the block and everybody would know exactly what you mean. Or the piston shot out of the block. They would also know what that means too. And that's never a good thing because you're going to need a new block usually. Unless you want to doing something crazy with that block, and I would not trust that for anything. Anyways, we put those on like that, and then we got to get a different sized spanner. So we'll get a 7, and then we screw these on. And to screw things on, you just use a scroll wheel. So if you have one of those mouses like me that can scroll automatically, basically, you just flick it and it keeps going. That is nice to have here because you flick it once, and then you just let it go. It's like you have a pneumatic tool where everybody else actually has to hand wrench things and stuff. It's awesome. So that's actually all we're going to do on this side of the engine. Now we're going to go and rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to work on right here. So the next part we're going to need is the camshaft, which is located right there. We're basically just going to slide that into there. And then we got to attach the camshaft. So we're going to grab the tiniest spanner available to us. And we're going to attach those 2 bolts. And then onto the camshaft, you got to put the camshaft gear. We'll line it up. And you notice you don't have to rotate it in the right orientation. It's just like the central position has to be correct. So like any of these rotations will work basically. It could be like that. You click it and it's attached. And then once again on this one, you need a different sized tool. This one, I believe you need a 10. And one thing you'll notice I do that's kind of dumb looking is if I'm attaching something like this, I crouch down. And if I need to get something from the toolbox, I crouch and then get back up. Why? Well, if you look at the controls, there's nothing that actually says stand upright. Reach sounds like it might be, but it's not. And jump doesn't do anything when you're crouched down for like actually standing upright. So anytime you're halfway crouched and you want to go all the way up, you basically got to go prone and then hop upwards, which is kind of awkward, but that's the only way I found to do it. Because if you try to hop, well, yeah, you can hop, but you're still crouched when you're done with it. You can even crouch while you're prone, which probably looks really awkward in third person if there was a third person view. Anyways, we have now attached the camshaft gear, so now we're going to attach the timing chain to that gear. And chains, they don't need anything. You just stick it on there and you're done. Although you do need the timing cover to cover up the chain. And that one has a lot of bolts to attach, so you put it right there. And then we're going to need another spanner size. This time we need the 6. And with the 6, we can go ahead and attach all 6 of the bolts that are on the timing cover. And I hear the phone in my house ringing. We should probably go and answer that. So away we go at a slow walking pace because I don't think there's a run button actually now that I think about it. Hello.
Minä maksan kyllä hyvin, että siitä ei oo ongelmaa. Tuo sitten kun pystyt tuua, minä oon täällä kotosalla varmaan aina. Niin kahtellaan siinä sitten, joo. Terve!
It's interesting. The subtitle is 1 line long, but they are talking for quite a while, but you saw what it said. They want wood. What does that mean? Well, we'll get into that later. Right now, we're building an engine. So we just got the timing cover on, and next up, we're going to go ahead and put the water pump onto this thing. So we'll rotate it so it actually lines up just because I can. Attach that, and I believe the water pump needs a size 7 spanner. And then we do all 5 of the bolts on the water pump, like so. That's only 4. I'm missing one. There it is. Perfect. And we could also always go over ones and make sure you didn't miss any. But I think when I'm doing it with the crazy scroll, it makes it pretty easy to get all the way, all the time, unless you're just being super hyper aggressive on things. Next, we're going to put the water pump pulley on it. And then we bolt that on with the exact same spanner we were using earlier, which is nice and convenient. And then the last thing we're going to put over here is the crankshaft pulley. And we're just going to set that. Oh, I can't quite reach. Got to stretch my neck a little bit. We're going to put that right there. And to attach that one, you need a much bigger spanner. We need a size 11. Perfect. So now that side of the engine is basically done. So we're going to rotate the engine 180 degrees to go to this side of it. And on this side, the first thing we're going to need is the engine plate. So we're going to grab that, put it on. And then after that, we are going to attach the starter because it's kind of a convenient location to attach it to. So boom, right there, it's installed. And the plate, it doesn't need anything. Starter though, it does need some bolting, and I believe it uses a size 7 spanner. I'm saying believe a lot because it's really hard to remember all these numbers for all these different parts. It's kind of like there's a little bit of consistency to it that you can kind of use to help yourself remember, but it's not easy. So anyways, we got the starter on. Next, we're going to go ahead and attach the flywheel right there. And then to screw that on, or to bolt that down, we just use the one we already have in our hand. I tried to plan it out where I use the same one in my hand as much as possible without having to like rotate the engine all over the place. Makes it a little bit easier at times like this. And now we're going to install the clutch. Now the clutch is actually 3 parts on the shelf. All you do is you attach all those parts together. And then you got the actual clutch and you're going to just boom onto it. And then to attach that, we need a slightly smaller one. We're going to go with a 6. Check that one out. Yes, it is. And then attach all of these bolts. Now, if you're following this as a guide, I got some bad news for you. This is going based off of my memory, and it may or may not work. It's at least a good place to get you started, but I'm not guaranteeing you this thing will start unless you watch part 2. I'm like, oh wait, I forgot to do this, or something like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it could. So next up, we're going to go ahead and attach the oil pan, which kind of goes to the bottom of the engine. I'm going to rotate it another 90 degrees so we have access to the bottom, so it's easier to bolt that down. Now first, we're going to go ahead and do that big bolt right there, and that one needs a size 9 spanner. I said that like it was a question because I was wrong. That one does not need a size 9. That one needs a size 13. Because I know what it was. When I was first playing the game, I was thinking of the spanners as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wasn't really paying attention to the actual number on it. And then I said, oh, I should probably use the number so it doesn't confuse people. Every now and then, that number sneaks into my mind, though. So after we attach with the 9, we can go ahead and do the rest of the bolts on the oil pan using a 7. And that's a 7 as in the actual size of the spanner, not the location. So one more on that side, and then we kind of got to get down low and kind of sneak your eyes through to find the rest of these. 8 of them in total. This one you can't even see. It doesn't matter. You can still attach it properly. And the next thing we're going to be attaching is the whole gearbox. Just going to grab that and slap it on like so. And for the gearbox, we can use this same spanner on a lot of the bolts over here. There's 6 over here. And then there's also one that you wouldn't expect. I don't know if I felt right. I guess I got them all. Didn't quite feel right, but apparently they're all there. There's all of those ones. Whoops. Nope. No, it's not. Come on. There you go. Okay, so now there's all of those ones. And then for the next one, we're going to need a size 10 spanner. I got to stop saying spanner. It just sounds so weird to me. I just like it, but it says spanner. What's spanner? It's not what Americans say. Anyways, we're basically done with the underside now. So we're going to just go ahead and rotate the engine a little bit. And now we're going to install the drive gear, and that just goes right on to the transmission right there. And for the drive gear, we need a size 6 spanner, and this one has a bunch of bolts on it. It has 7 in total, 6 that are easy to see right here, and then you have one up above, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to tighten that one all the way up. I don't see any reason why not to. It looks like just a normal attachment that's kind of in an unusual location. And then we're basically done with that. So we're going to flip the engine upright and try to make it stand on its side. Actually, I want the other side of the engine, I believe. Yes. No. Maybe. I can't remember which side I want. I'll be able to tell once I put the cylinder head on. I know what direction I want the spark plugs to be. They're in the right direction. So we go ahead and put the cylinder head on, and I actually forgot something. See, the game will let you make dumb mistakes. That's proof of that. I forgot to put on the head gasket. That would not have been good. So we put the head gasket on. Then we put the cylinder head. That's why I said if you're following this as a guide, yeah, it's a little bit iffy there. And to attach cylinder head, we need a size 7. All 10 of these. I think this one has the most number of bolts for a single part right here. Takes the longest because of that too. Luckily, they're all easy to see. And it's easy to see that one of them is sticking up right there. I almost missed that, but I'm looking, I'm like, that one looks a little bit up. Now I'm checking all of them just in case though. So cylinder head is attached. Next up is the rocker shaft. We're just going to set that right there. And then the rocker shaft needs a different size one. Needs an 8. We're going to go ahead and do all 5 of these. Half of the ones on the cylinder head. Nice and easy there. Perfect. And the next, we got to do the rocker cover, which is just to protect the rocker shaft. I don't know if you even need that technically. You probably could run the engine without it for like 2 seconds. And then everything goes terribly. But that 2 seconds would be glorious. Go ahead and attach all of these. See, I'm really curious about that kind of stuff though. What will the game do if you just straight up didn't put a rocker cover on it? Who knows? One of those things I want to test eventually with this game because it does some interesting things, I would bet. So there we go. Rocker cover is on. And now we're going to attach the header. That goes right there and it flips it for me all easy. And on this one, we need a size 8 spanner. I think this one has 5 attachment points, 2 that are hard to see because they're kind of buried under the actual header, and then 3 above that are easy to see. Yeah, I always want to think there's a third one that's hidden right there, but I don't think there is because you'd be able to see it through the thing by hovering like that. The next up, we're going to put on the carburetor, which goes right on top of the header. The carburetor uses the exact same spanner size. And on this one, again, it kind of has some hidden bolts. It has one kind of hiding down there and one kind of hiding down there, and I think it's just 4, although I saw something light up. That's the same bolt I already did. Okay, we're good. Next, we're going to put on the air filter, which is oil filter. Why did I say air filter? There's no air filter I'm putting on. We're putting on the oil filter. That's on the other side, so it's kind of hard to do it. So we're going to put the oil filter on, and then we're going to attach it by just spinning the mouse right there. You're like basically hand attaching that. Then we're going to go ahead and... No, wait, there is an air filter. I'm like, wait, why did I say air filter? Because I meant air filter. Oh, man, I'm a dummy sometimes. Okay. Banner 6, and that's what I actually meant to do. That order made no sense to me. I'm like, wait, why would I attach it on this side when I still got to do something over here? That doesn't make sense because the alternator's not on. Like, I'm looking at the shelf. I'm like, something don't look right. I messed myself up. I doubted myself. Like I said alternator, and then I started doubting myself. Like, no, that's not right. It is right. I actually don't remember what size it was for the alternator, but there we go. I actually guessed it. So now we're actually done with that side of the engine, and we can rotate the engine 180 degrees and do this side. So on this side, there are the spark plug holes. So we're going to put on all 4 of the spark plugs. And to tighten these, you just use your hand. So I'm going to put them all in, and then we'll tighten them afterwards. So 1, 2, 3-ish. There we go. 3. Wait, did I actually? Yeah. I didn't hear the noise. I was like, I moved my mouse away so fast, I just didn't hear it. And 4. And then tighten these ones. You just look at it and scroll. No tools are required. And tight that thing. Next, we're going to go ahead and put on the distributor. Well, actually, I think the fuel pump looks a little bit better if you put that one on first. So let's grab that. Not electronics, fuel pump. We'll set that right there. And then to attach the fuel pump, I think it's a 7. What do I have in my hand? 8. So we want... No, I had a 7 in my hand. Man, these numbers are throwing me off. And that's just 2 bolts as far as I know on that one. So now we're going to put the distributor on. And I put the distributor on after just because it makes a little bit more sense to me in terms of like how you'd be able to access things. The distributor goes right about there, but it doesn't seem to want to attach. So we'll just attempt 1, fling it off, and then there we go. And to attach the distributor, we're going to need a size 6. And that one only has a single screw right there. It's hiding, but it's only one at least. Next up are the electronics, which controls the spark plugs. This one's always a little awkward to try to place because I'm not exactly sure which part you're supposed to line up with the engine. Try grabbing it at a different angle, see if that helps. Oh, I couldn't even grab it. There we go. Need a hand, but I want a check mark. There it is. Boom. And this one, it's kind of weird. Like, there's some bolts right there you can just go and tighten. Like, you're not really tightening it to anything at this point in time, but I think the tighteningness stays intact when we eventually install this into the car. So there's no reason not to do it while you remember. Because if I wait till later, I will forget. And that basically is the engine. There are a few accessory parts that we will be putting directly onto the car, which comes after we install the engine into the car. And to do that, we'll be using the motor hoist. But first, we gotta get some suspension on this thing, and we gotta get some transmission and a little bit of interior and maybe some body panels. We got a lot of work to do on this thing before we install the engine. But just trying to memorize all of that stuff and do that in a timely manner took a lot of effort. So that's why this video took so long to get out compared to a lot of people. But even though there's a couple of mistakes here and there, I'm pretty proud with that. And I'm 95% certain this engine is good to go. I don't think I made any mistakes. I think I did that just as I did before when I had a car that actually functioned. Because I'm looking at all the parts left, and I'm like, yep, those parts should still be there. So anyways, till next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see you next time, and hopefully then we'll get to see if the car actually drives.